I think gaining an understanding of what all the positions do can be daunting, but that is probably one of the most important first steps. You know, if you talk to Judja, my mom, you know, she can tell you exactly who messed up on what play because she's been watching it since I was in high school.
Mathias Kiwanuka is a former National Football League player and two-time Super Bowl champion during his time playing with the New York Giants. Mathias was born into a legacy of leadership. His late grandfather, Benedicto Kiwanuka, a towering figure in Africa's political history, was the first Prime Minister of Uganda and its Chief Justice. Now retired, Mathias spends his time doing philanthropic work and business. He tells me that he wants to use his platform and experience to contribute to the development of football and other sports in Uganda and Africa as a whole. He joins me in studio. First of all, let me start off by asking you, how was the transition for you from being an NFL player in the limelight to transitioning to, you know, being a private citizen? How has that transition been for you?
Oh, it's been amazing.
Yeah.
There are a lot of recreation things. There's a lot of things that you have to do as an individual whenever you're leaving your craft, right? So instead of thinking of it as retiring from the NFL, just think of it as you poured all your life's work, your effort into something, you've accomplished all that you could, and it's time to move on. And having two children, 12 years old and 10 years old, that keeps you very, very busy.
Very busy, absolutely. So you're originally from, you know, your parents are originally from Uganda. Your grandfather was the first Prime Minister of Uganda. How has that rich history and legacy and this connection to Uganda really influenced your journey in, you know, sports and outside of sports?
Yeah, tremendously. I think it's had probably the biggest impact on me because of my visibility and how often I'm asked to speak on the topic, because wherever you go in the world, that name Kiwanuka is known, it's recommended, or it's recognized as a individual who had extreme integrity, who was about greatness, but greatness for the community, and who gave his own life to make sure that the people would be better than the position they were in.
A man of the people. Do your kids know about him?
They're learning.
Do you ever teach them about it?
Yeah, no, they know. Because they have rich history on both sides. So they're Ugandan and Haitian. So they have the blood of
to say over here,
and of the individuals who refused to relent and who led the revolution. So I think when we're talking about our family history, my grandfather is the linchpin. He's the beginning of the conversation, but it becomes bigger when you look at the accomplishments of the diaspora.
How did your upbringing and cultural background shape your perspective and approach to playing in the NFL?
You don't stop. I think when you look at the last names, the African names that are on NFL rosters or on NFL teams, and you ask the individuals in their locker room what they think about them, one of the first things they'll say is that they outwork everybody. When you look at an African on an NFL team, I bet you he's on more special teams than anybody else. He's contributed at different positions. It's just the way that your parents teach you to approach life, which is do everything as best you can. Don't ever be too good to do anything, and make sure that you master what you're intending to do. I think it plays very well.
What were some of the biggest challenges you faced transitioning from football to regular life, when you have cameras on you all the time to just being, you know?
Yeah, I wasn't really the camera guy. That wasn't my thing. It's the waiting for appointments. You know, when you have the privilege of the shield, and when you're walking around as a New York football giant in the city, you know, everything is opened up for you.
Absolutely.
If there's anything you need, if there's anything you want to do, everybody in the city, when you're...
Especially if you're a winning team.
Especially if you're... It helps. Yeah, you know, having a couple of rings does help, but... no, I think the biggest transition point is about recreating yourself, finding a new routine, a new schedule. It used to be where I didn't feel accomplished if I wasn't physically exhausted at the end of the day. So changing your mindset to understand that, you know, making it through all the emails in your inbox, that's an accomplishment. You know?
Taking the kids to school is an accomplishment. Making dinner at home.
Yeah, just over time you realize, because they're older now. The transition happened when they were younger, but now having 7 to 10 years to adjust to it, I realized that being there is the biggest gift that you can give to the children.
Absolutely. So you've been traveling back home to Uganda. What are some of the things you're doing in Uganda or you're hoping to do?
Yeah, so we're establishing a number of entities. We've moved somewhat away from the nonprofit space, and we realize that Uganda is thriving. The individuals there who are doing well on their own independently, but it's an opportunity for us to use our resources, our visibility, and our connections to help provide opportunities to other Ugandans. So it's not necessarily about going and doing handouts anymore. It's about developing good, strong partnerships, whether those are government and private sector, and then utilizing the visibility and the connections here to bring opportunities to Uganda.
Do you ever see, or do you envision ever bringing an NFL team to Uganda, or creating some sort of pipeline where you bring young players from Uganda to come and play in the NFL?
Absolutely.
Is that a possibility?
Absolutely. It's more than a possibility. It's going to be a reality. We are working strongly on it, and that was one of the things that got me going back to Uganda more. Ambassador Roby came to East Rutherford, New Jersey, personally, and we've been discussing, sports diplomacy and how to use that platform to help bring more than just football, bring all sports to Uganda, recognize all the athletes that we have coming out of the country.
Yeah. How did you start into football? How was that journey for you?
The first thing you have to do is convince your uncles and your aunties that you shouldn't be playing soccer.
Right, of course.
That was number one. The biggest part was announcing to my family that I was going to be playing American football, and once I did that, I fell in love with it, man. Honestly, it's a unique sport in that it is difficult to understand, but once you get an understanding of what the positions do, it's really about hard work. It's about strategy, but because
when you look at it from the outside, you think that people are just like running into each other, grabbing the ball, but there's much more. You have to study books.
Yeah, no, you do a lot of studying.
Yeah.
So you get one opportunity to execute a play that you've run over and over and over again. You get one chance, and I say this to a lot of people: if you could work for an entire week at one thing, I'm going to beat this individual. I know his name, I know his moves, I know what he ate for breakfast, I know everything. And then when you're on the field and you're successful, poof, 100,000 people react all at one time. It's loud. It's so loud you can't hear it. Wow. It is absolutely one of the best feelings that you'll have in the world. Getting a sack in the NFL in an important game, let's say a Monday night game, you can't beat it.
When did you retire from finally?
2015.
2015.
Yeah.
So between 2015 and now, you've been doing part of your philanthropy work, your community outreach in the society. What advice would you give to a young person, a young African born here in the U.S. who wants to pursue a career like yours, like you had, a successful career?
Yeah, reach out. I think we need to do a better job of making ourselves available to the younger generation who are coming up, who have questions, concerns, if they want to know something. If there's somebody who's interested in my craft or somebody who's interested in yours, us as men, as members of our community, we have an obligation to impart that knowledge. That transfer of information to the next generation is absolutely critical. So I would encourage them to continue to work hard, but to reach out. Do not think that anybody in your ecosystem and your network is above being approached. You can call, email, send text messages. If they don't get returned initially, don't give up. And we need to connect the diaspora and help uplift everybody.
Absolutely. I know that most young people say that one of the missing links for them in their journey to success is lack of mentors, people that have made it. And they say that there's some kind of firewall, like you're unapproachable, you're not available, they're not able to reach you. Who were some of the people that you look up to when you were growing up, in terms of their discipline, their work ethic, their professionalism?
Yeah, so a little bit recent, there was Adewale Agunlie. He played my position, and he was also of African descent. Waswa, there were two brothers who played, so there were individuals from the continent already playing before I got there. But over time, I think you start in the home. I watched my mom beat the broom. I watched her, in the hospital. I watched her, whatever it took to get it done, she did. And then my older brother would follow suit. My sister, who's an attorney now, who went to George Washington and Catholic, not too far from here. So I've been blessed with good family, and I would say that watching my family members and how hard they work as the youngest of three, you don't really have a choice.
Right, absolutely.
If they're working,
and there's
working.
always this feeling that because you came from a prosperous family, the family that has done well for themselves, that you won't put in the hard work. But you are a prime example. You came from a family that has such a rich legacy, that was doing well for themselves. But I mean, look at you. You walked to the pinnacle of your profession.
Yeah, I think that's for each individual to decide on their own. What greatness are you capable of, and then what greatness are you going to accomplish? Because in between there, it's all about your work.
Yeah. Talk to us, I guess, a little bit about some of your proudest moments professionally.
Yeah. Okay. So professional. Well, here's one. So
yes,
there were two.
Please zoom in on that ring. Yeah.
So there were two appearances in the Super Bowl from the New York Giants while I was playing. The first one was my second year, and I was injured that year. So I was on the team, but didn't get to play in the game. But this one is more sweet. I was an older player, and by that point, it's a lot of sideline coaching and stuff that I was doing. But being able to get back to the Super Bowl was probably my biggest accomplishment, and then I was able to win the game against the Patriots in Indianapolis.
Indianapolis, yes, I remember that game.
So I think that was definitely the biggest accomplishment.
How do you see professional football contributing to youth development in Uganda?
Okay, so there's a couple of ways. One, I was with O.C. Umanyora, my teammate, in Ghana when we did the first NFL Combine on the continent, and we have been asked to establish camps in our home countries, and there's a player pathway, goes
like a little pipeline.
The UK. Absolutely. So the individuals that we worked with on the field in Ghana, some of them went to the school in the UK. Some of them were old enough and eligible, and they came straight over. And there were a few, I think 3 to 5 guys who made it onto NFL teams and who still communicate with me to this day, and who had no other opportunity other than coming to the combine and enjoying the festivities, but competing. And so what I'm working on now is finding with help of some individuals who have been very, very hardworking already, getting the individuals from Uganda that are capable of playing in the NFL, getting them to the combine, getting them seen by the scouts, and then seeing what opportunities we can put them into. But the NFL Africa initiative, flag football, which is now going to be in the Olympics. So also we can put together, different flag teams from the different countries, and I would love to be responsible for
coaching one of those teams.
A flag team that does well enough to.
I can see that happening. Absolutely. I mean, who wouldn't want to, a Super Bowl champion coaching their team? I can see that though in the Olympics. Let's put it up in the air. That's it's definitely going to happen.
Because that's a fair playing field. That's not about your size. It's not about your anything other than your commitment to excellence, your speed, and your ability to understand what the plays are going to be and anticipate, on defense what the offense is going to do.
I was alluding to this a little earlier about some of the misconceptions. We think people are just knocking each other up. What does it take to be a successful NFL player, football player, on the level that you played at?
Yeah, I think gaining an understanding of what all the positions do can be daunting, but that is probably one of the most important first steps, and I'll tell you how you do it, right? You find one individual that you know and you like, whose name you can remember or recognize, and you watch them, and you listen to what they're supposed to be doing, and off of that, you'll be able to understand, okay, there are 3 different levels. I have the line, on defense, I have the linebackers, and then I have the DBs, or the secondary. And you know, if you talk to Judja, my mom,
Yeah.
you know, she can tell you exactly who messed up on what play because she's been watching it since I was in high school. And so, you know, we've discussed, maybe I'll bring her in and
Absolutely, bring her in one time. We would
I can
love
speak
to have
my football speak, and she'll
Yes.
translate to the
Absolutely.
audience. Yeah, she does it. Because when you hear her talk about
Yeah,
football, she has
yeah.
a much deeper understanding of it than most people would ever
Really?
think. Oh yeah, when your baby's on the
Yeah,
field, though,
absolutely. You better understand
gotta
the
know.
game.
Yeah.
You have a lot of vested interest in their
Oh,
safety and
she
the
called me
well-being.
up and asked me, "Hey,
Yeah.
what happened on that play? I thought you were gonna." Oh yeah, she knows.
Wow.
She knows exactly what you're supposed to be doing.
That's amazing. So, you know, I guess it takes a lot, including having a solid support system around you.
Yeah.
You know, people like your parent, your mom, who was always looking at, you know, some of the plays and understanding some of the intricacies. If you were to give one advice to an aspiring athlete from the continent, whether it's in football, whether it's in basketball, or any other professional sport, what is the advice you would give them?
Oof. Work hard, study harder, and never give up.
Appreciate you, man. Thank you so much,
Thank
man.
you. Of
Appreciate.
course.
Salutes, salutes, salutes.